board met in closed session and no action was taken. So at this time, we want to welcome Dr. Hardiman from Tierra del Sol Middle School to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance and to share some highlights from TDS.
Thank you, and I'm going to introduce 6th grader Addison Armstrong and 8th grader Abigail Thorne, who are going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
If everyone could stand and remove hats.
Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming today. I want to say a quick thank you to Addison and Abigail. They are both students who are part of our ASB and are doing amazing things not only at school but in the community as well. So today we are going to talk about the awesome things that we have going on at TDS. Our shared vision is the same vision that we adopted and we worked on 2 years ago. TDS is a respectful place that holds all stakeholders accountable in order to create a clear, safe, productive learning environment that provides opportunities for real teaching and learning, as well as opportunities that build trust and connections throughout campus. We've been making sure that this is a living and breathing vision that we continue to go back to every year, and we are going to update this vision in May because we've been doing a lot of work on campus with our SPED and our EL students, and so we wanted to have something that embodies all the work that we've been doing over this year and our future years throughout our vision statement. So this year, our school goals are lofty. We have our meaningful assessments that drive meaningful instruction. 60% of our students we're hoping are going to be proficient. And then as well, just highlighting the work that we've been doing with our SPED population, we also added, we want our SPED students to increase by 20% compared to spring 2023 results. Every student will have at least 3 data points in English and math, and then teachers will analyze data and discuss 3 specific strategies. We're trying to make sure that we analyze as much data as possible and use that data to move forward in our academics. We have our social emotional goal. 90% of students will demonstrate proficiency in the LUSD profile characteristic, persevering, relentlessly, and caring deeply. And then we also have our innovation goal. 75% of TDS students will participate in at least one project that is connected to a cross-curricular unit or culminating task. And then we also created a goal based around the comments from our school site council, based upon the comments that we've had from parents, and that's our partnership in parent education. And looking at our CHICS data this year, we had about 37% of parents who said that they didn't know either that we had counseling on campus or that we did offer like college and career readiness for their students. And so we want to make sure that that's something that we work on not only this coming year, but in future years, just having parents back on campus and making sure that they understand all of the awesome things that we have available for their students. So looking at our 22-23 CASP results, we are still about almost 40% English and then 26% math. Math, we are working on it, but we are 3.5% higher than we were in 21-22. So in 21-22, we were 23%. We are really working on that and just making sure that the work that we're doing with mass transformations is working and that we are adding some very specific things on campus as far as making sure that we use our MAPS data to fuel that instruction. This is our MAPS data for all students from the beginning of the year till now. And as you can see, we have had some growth. We're up a percentage in 6th and 7th grade and almost 3 percentage points in 8th grade. What we're really proud about is this is our students with disabilities. So from fall to winter, we're up almost 5%, well, a little over 4% in 8th grade, 3% in 6th and 7th grade. And we feel like we've been doing a lot of work with that. We did eliminate our SDC classes at the beginning of this year, and we've been doing a lot of our professional development has been focused on how can all of our students have access to grade level curriculum, as well as the modifications and the accommodations and differentiation in the gen ed classroom, making sure that there's high engagement and high rigor, but at every single person's level, and making sure that they have access to that curriculum in the gen ed classroom. So to see that kind of growth in the middle of the year, we're hoping to see great things in CAS as well. This is our EL students. They've grown almost 4 points. And so that is a lot of the work that Ms. Herrera, who's our ELD coordinator, Ms. Will, and Mr. McCoy, who are English teachers, have been doing to make sure that every single teacher on campus knows who our EL students are, and that we have specific things on campus to support them in all of their classes. This is our math data. We still saw some increase, but not as much increase as English. We're up almost 2% in 6th grade and almost a percentage point in 7th and 8th. This is students with disabilities, almost 2% for 6th and 7th grade. And then this is our EL learners. So once again, we're just making sure that our students with disabilities and our EL learners have everything that they need in their classrooms. And like I said, a lot of our professional development, a lot of our POC work is driven around making sure that we create a program that's going to work for all of our students. Our ELD students, we're spending a lot of time making sure that teachers know what accommodations, what strategies, what templates they can use, anything that supports our ELD students in the general ed classroom. We are having a lot of students who are newcomers. Our population is changing, and so we have just this year alone 16 newcomers who have either been in the country less than a year and speak no English at all. And so we're really trying to make sure that we have something for them to where they're not experiencing failure when they come here. We have their EOD classes, of course, but they're still in all of their gen ed classes, and we need to make sure that we're teaching our teachers how to best help students. And so we created an English class for them. And so that allows them to work on phonics, that allows them to work on basic level 1, like immersion, things that they're going to need out in the community to be able to communicate. And so that's a lot of the work that they're doing. They're doing a lot more reading than they would in a gen ed English classroom. So that's just to make sure that they acquire the language a little bit faster, along with their EOD class, and their win time and crew is also helping them acquire the language faster. We have 3 students who met the LPAC requirement as far as receiving a 4, but we're waiting on their match results. They did not meet them, and so now we have to wait for their new LPAC scores from February. They just took them, and then hopefully they'll be able to meet their MAP score or CAS in the spring. We have 13 ELL learners who were reclassified this year, and so we were able to reclassify some in the fall, and then just now with our winter results. So they're working really, really hard. The LEAD measures that we're using to get to goal 1 is at least 1 per trimester. Students will engage in argument and constructing explanation. A lot of the reading and the reading comprehension that is on the CASP and on MAPS is really getting them to do critical thinking. And then a lot of the writing is based on constructing explanations and arguments. And so we're making sure that we're doing that in every single classroom. Each trimester, students will analyze data looking for patterns for evidence and explanation in arguments. And that's not just in their English class, but that's in their history class, in their science, math. That's a lot of the cross-curricular work that we do. We're looking at the standards and making sure that we're teaching them not only the standards and the skills in every single one of their classrooms so they can best transfer those skills. And then LEAD Measure 3, teachers will utilize the PLC process to review the student data in order to address those gaps in student learning. And that's a lot of the work that we're doing, especially with our SPED students. We have our ed specialists and our gen ed teachers working together to try to figure out how we can best be supported in the gen ed classroom. This is an example of some of the ways that they're constructing arguments and being able to tailor their writing. So race is what they do in English and history, and it is a way to basically break down their reading and their comprehension. And then the way that it looks and is in science, the CERs, the claim, evidence, and reasoning. And so for our students to be able to understand how those transfer in all of their classes, now they're starting to use CER in math as well, because a lot of our math transformation work is being able to construct their explanations and be able to explain their math in written form. And so we're trying to use the CER in the math classes as well. Since they've been using them in science, we're hoping that they'll be able to transfer those skills as well. So goal 2, I'm going to turn it over to my awesome vice principal, Ms. Missy.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So our goal 2 is all about persevering relentlessly and caring deeply. And so the steps that we're doing to achieve this goal is by our lead measure number 1, which is focusing once a month for students to participate in specific counseling lessons that will focus on specific issues that may be coming up for our students. And of course, making sure that we can address not only social emotional, but also academic skills that can help them become a very successful students. Our lead measure number 2 is making sure that our students from underrepresented backgrounds will be provided more support on campus. And our third measure is that during grade level PLC meetings, staff will ensure they are all coming to the table with at least 2 strategies to be able to problem solve classroom behaviors and procedures. So we're going to dive deeper into what that actually looks like. Of course, we always want to start with looking at our data. And so we were able to get our CHICS data, our California Healthy Kids Survey data, and it was great to see that we have remained steady or increased in these areas that go back to our goal number 2. School connectedness, academic motivation, 2 or fewer absences in a month. Students reported there was an increase of caring adult relationships, which is amazing because that's something that we really try to do at our school, making sure that all of our students feel that they're connected to at least one student on our campus. High expectations, we want students to feel that we have high expectations for them and that they feel that we know they can achieve what they set goals for themselves. Meaningful participation has also increased and perceived school safety. Some of the activities that we've been doing to create these connections, to build the sense of safety, to create a space for them to learn and grow as a student is our crew activity. So we continue to build these classes where we have students go into challenges with each other's classes. They get to select a college and they get to represent it. So we've built in a lot of different activities that not only make them feel proud to be at TDS, but also that they have a sense of community within each crew. And as you can see, we have crew challenges, school-wide assemblies, we have field trips as well. Part of what we do is that we embed monthly calendars where each crew class, and this is all led by our ASB and our PE team, they come together to co-create a calendar where their crew is utilized intentionally, so they have their opportunity to participate in a fun physical activity. Then they get to work together to do teamwork activities and problem solve, things as simple as group string drawing, and then they get to go to the gym and represent their own crew, and then of course we have embedded in that our counselor lessons, which I'll talk about in a further slide. Something additional, as I mentioned, that we're wanting to make sure that our underrepresented students have an additional layer of support is that we have brought in 2 mentoring programs for our boys and our girls. For our boys, we have San Diego Elite Sports Future Mentor Program, and the conversations that I've had with the students that are participating in it has been incredible. We've noticed a difference in their wanting to take accountability for their academics, they're looking at their grades, they're wanting to participate, they're rethinking some of their choices. So it's really great to see already the outcome for our students, for our boys. And then for our girls, we have brought in Fancy, which is a teen girls self-esteem, self-awareness, and self-development program. They meet once a week and they have the opportunity to really talk amongst themselves and get those additional skills that our students need. And it's really great to have seen them now. You can see how connected they are among themselves, which is amazing to see. And we look forward to continuing the partnership with them. Another great support that we are just tremendously grateful for is our partnership with Wellness Together. It's an additional layer of support where we are able to link up our students that are needing an extra layer for mental health support and guidance, that we have that opportunity for our students. And we work with them quite a bit, so it's great to have that layer of support. And then, of course, I know I had mentioned our amazing school counselor, Mrs. Corley. Some of the things that we've kind of had to think outside of the box is how do we make sure that we get all of these skills, all of these lessons to our students in a timely manner, and making sure that everyone has access to it. And she has done an amazing job of creating lessons that she pre-records and are sent out to all of our crew classes. So all of our crew classes are able to engage in the lesson. She also provides a guide for the teacher so that it's not just a sit and watch, it's a let's talk about this topic. And she's able to reach out to teachers and ask, what is a need that you see? And so she's led lessons like conflict resolution, motivation, how to prioritize tasks. So it's not only the social emotional, it's also how to be a better student by building up organization and study skills as well. And then last year we talked about how we were going to try and dive into the social media world and try to highlight a little bit more about our school. And one of the reasons why we wanted to do that is that we wanted to make sure that we were able to highlight all of our wonderful students. Sometimes with social media, it can take a negative focus, but there is so many great things happening at TDS. We have so many amazing students that do great things for our campus. And so with positive referrals, we've been able to highlight and showcase the students that are doing great things, that have a great influence for our students and that are role models. And so you might get to see some of these on our social media website, and it's really amazing to call them in and say, you're not in trouble. You a student or a teacher referred you for a positive referral, and it can be anything from, I had one just dropped off on my desk this week, and it was one of our aides in our Mod Severe class who wanted to highlight one of our students in the general education classes that was in physical education. And she was wanting to help out this other student, was explaining the game and decided to play with her, and she wanted to highlight it, and that aid was like, that made our day. It was amazing, and the student went home really happy. So those are the kinds of things that we want to share about TDS as well. And then another layer of support that we have for our students is the after-school sports and tutoring, because we want our students to feel the support and then also feel connected in all kinds of ways. And our amazing PE teachers lead the after-school sports, and we have teachers that are, of course, staying at the end of the school day and providing that additional support for our students. And also we wanted to share the amazing work that Mrs. Barmaki, our MTSS TOSA, has done for TDS. She's been a great, phenomenal additional support for us. She's helped create a very structured WIN time. So our WIN has now become even much more intentional, much more focused, and provided an additional layer of guidance from our MTSS TOSA. In addition, we've been able, with her help, to keep track, as we mentioned in one of our goals, that in our PLC meetings, our teachers are identifying who are the students that are still needing that additional support, and then layering out what kind of supports we can put in place and brainstorm those strategies. So she's been a wonderful addition to our campus. And this is kind of a little glimpse as to the supports that have been embedded and scheduled and planned out intentionally for our WIN based on our Kid Watch.
And the last one we're going to be talking about is our cross-curricular projects pathways. I think we're in our 4th or 5th year of our college and career night that we have, and we're looking at showcasing our cross-curricular projects. We have been talking about this year, not only our immersion students doing a portfolio presentation, but all of our students being able to present. And so we're trying to figure out how logistically we can have all of our students be able to do some type of presentation. We have our students there that night presenting their cross-curricular projects, but we wanted to make it a little bit more formal because our students are ready to be able to showcase all the hard work that they've been working on. We also have, by the end of May 2024, TDS will have at least 2 specific established college career pathways and an established pathway elective. Mr. Nguyen has been working really hard, not only with us, but with LMS as well, with the grant that the CDE grant that we were able to secure this year. And he's been working really hard on his prep to be able to establish some of those pathways and create those pathways for our students. And that's not only just creating the class and looking at curriculum, but also what does that look like for our master schedule? What does that look like for access to all of our students? And making sure that all of our students have some type of way to be able to have access to this class. And then teachers will meet after the completion of those projects to reflect on the student feedback. So these are the cross-curricular projects that we've been working on. We are trying to build at least 1 more per year. 8th grade already has 3, 7th grade has 2, and 6th grade has 1. But 6th grade is working on their 2nd one to be able to have our students be ready to go into 7th grade with that cross-curricular project knowledge. After the board meeting, we do have a lot of artwork that's on the wall, but a lot of the work that we have put up is for our cross-curricular projects and all of the work that our students have been doing in the ELA, history, math, and science classes, not just their electives. So these are pictures of our students in their English class. This is for the Holocaust unit, and so they're looking at maps. They read mouse, and then they're also doing projects for that. They went to iFly because one of their projects was on contact forces, and so they read concussion in English. They looked at contact forces in science, and they were able to go to iFly. And then this is 7th grade. They worked on Seed Folks. They actually went on a field trip today to the museum to do one of their projects. And so our students are really getting into this and having some hands-on projects and tasks that they can do while still learning the standards. We're still working on building a pathway class that all of our students will have access to all of the labor market index skills. And that's just allowing them to see all of the possible things that are out there. We want them, of course, they get a lot of the college prep stuff in the crew class, but we also want them to have access to all of the other careers that are out there and to be able to see that maybe the 4-year route, the 4-year route is there, but there's a 2-year route. There's also places where you can get your certificate and go right into the field. And so we're trying to create a pathway that will allow, and at least an elective that will allow our students to be able to see all of those different types of opportunities that they will have. LCAP just started their construction, and I know they're working with the construction college that is right by LMS, that's on Riverford, I think. And so we want to try to build that into there as well. We've been talking to them. They do have field trips and opportunities. It is mostly for 16 and up, but they've all absolutely said that they would work with us to be able to try to open up those pathways for our students as well. And then electives and clubs, our students have access to some amazing electives. Of course, we have dance, band. With the Prop 28 money, we were able to open up to other electives. We were able to open up guitar for our students, beginning guitar, and then we were also able to open up a drama tech class, and that's where the students learn all of the technical aspects of running a show, and being able to go in our new theater and be able to learn that. We also have, of course, art, photography, we have pottery. Us and Dream, we did the California lottery commercial that should be coming out soon that shows what we spent our lottery funds on. And so we were able to highlight like our new pottery class and a lot of the work that we did in Project Lead the Way in robotics as well. We have our competitive robotics team that is still going on different missions. They are really trying to get to world this year. They have participated in, I believe, 4 competitions this year and are really trying to continue to work hard so we can make it to the next level. And then we have our new gardening elective along with our work that we've been doing with recycling and our environmental studies elective. And our students, this program is awesome because our students are going back into the community and being able to see the impact that gardening has, not just for them, but as well as other people in the community. So they're giving the fruit, the vegetables away to people in the community who need it. So that's been awesome. Our teachers do a really great job at raising extra funds. And so these are, this year, these are the things that they have been able to secure on our donorschoose.org. And so these are all of the activities and projects that have been funded this year alone since August. So our students, teachers do an amazing job writing these grants, putting them out there, and making sure that our students have all of these awesome opportunities to do these projects in class. And then community service. The military cards, we were able to complete those and be able to send those out to during Christmas, and to get those out to our people who are serving in the military. We were able to raise some funds for a Spirit of Christmas and be able to make donations for places that are in our community. We were able to do a canned food drive, and this is all run not only by our ASB, but they're opening it up to the entire school. We have our annual STEP program where 150 of our TDS students became teachers in March, and we're able to teach 350 elementary 4th and 5th graders. It was amazing not only to see them in the classroom, but then to see them in the staff lounge, tired on their prep, and being able to be like, you guys stand up all day, I can't believe it. So that was awesome to have our students be able to do that. They were able to go and participate not only in our haunted house and our trunk or treat, but carnivals in the elementary schools. And then the ASB has done at least 1,000+ hours in Lakeside, and also community service at our school as well. And so we're looking at problems that we see on our campus, and we're using our ASB teams to be able to help us with those. And one example is Addie and her group in ASB. We noticed the issue with attendance, and so we're trying to figure out what do we need to do to get students to campus. And so Addison and 2 other students, that is their ASB project, is working with me and figuring out programs that we can do, different activities that we can do on our high attendance days from last year, be able to compare them to this year and see what fun things we can put in place that'll hopefully motivate students to come to school on those days that we know usually are very high. And those are like the days right before spring break, the days right before Christmas. So for Christmas, they planned an entire week of activities and hoping that the attendance will go up, and it worked. And so we're really, really thankful for the outside the box ideas that our students are coming up with to not only help with the problems that we have in our community. But problems that we have as adults, we don't necessarily get to see it the way they do, so it's awesome to have their lens in helping us with that. So that is all. Thank you very much. Do we have any questions?
Thank you, Dr. Hartman. Does anyone have any questions or comments? Okay, thank you so much for your presentation. All right, so at this time, the board is going to recognize Safety Patrol Captain Andreas Librado, who is going to be our honorary colonel of Lakeside. Andreas is a 5th grader from Lindo Park who competed against others in our community competition this last month. I know member Casper and I had an opportunity to interview Andreas, and it was just a joy to talk to you and your family. So I want to take this time to recognize you, and we'll come out and take a picture. Assistant Superintendent Lisa Davis present the 2023-2024 second interim financial report.
So tonight is our reporting period for our second interim budget. And I'm just gonna briefly go, because back in December, we had our first interim budget, and so not a whole lot has changed from first interim to second interim. But what I would like to highlight is just an overview of school funding, just to give a review on that. And because there is a lot of changes going on at our state level with school funding, and so it's sometimes good to go back and look at how school districts are funded, where the dollars come from. So historically, I thought this was a great slide that CSBA provided of when you look at a school district's whole budget, where the state, federal, and local funding, the percentages of what those dollars are. So state funding is about 54 to 64% of a school site's budget. And one note in this, in our current time, is that pre-pandemic, some of these numbers looked a lot different, and then during the pandemic, there was an explosion of federal funding, state funding. There's just a lot of dollars coming in, and now we're back to post-pandemic. A lot of those dollars are either have dried up or are going to dry up, and now we'll go back to pre-pandemic, the norms on what a state or what a school district's budget will be looking like. So what you can see too is federal funding, not a whole lot comes from federal funding, and that really what that's driven by is your free and reduced populations of students, your homeless, your foster, and your EL students. So those are your drivers. So you could have really low populations of those and you're not going to get a lot of federal funding, or you could have a high population. So that is a big difference when you're comparing school districts. That some budgets may look much larger, but you need to dig in a little bit deeper and see what those populations are that's driving those monies. Another interesting, I always get the comment from community members and staff is about, especially people who live in the community that the school district is located at. They're like, how come you guys, don't have so much more money, because my property taxes go to fund your school district? Well, out of this came from the San Diego County Taxpayers Association, and they always do put out some information. So this was from the 22-23 fiscal year, based on the property tax collections, and this is countywide. So about 45% of property taxes go towards schools, and this is again countywide. And then you can see the distribution: library, county, BLF, special districts, cities, and so forth. So I just wanted to point that out, that not all 100% of people's property taxes go to pay, which I'm sure they understand that, but it's about 45% of that. So when you break it down for our school district, LUSD's share of the property taxes that we get from the county is about $14 million. What we need to run this school district, based on the local control funding formula calculation from the state of California, that what we should be, what we should have to educate our students is, for our school district, $38.5 million. So you can see that's a big, huge difference, that our property taxes are a small drop in the bucket of what we actually need to serve our students, or for the state of California. One thing to note is our community is a very, part of it's an aging community. There has been some growth within our community with residential projects and stuff like that. But it seems like in Lakeside, and it could be a good thing or a bad thing, is people tend to stay in Lakeside, and even after their children have graduated from school and moved on, it just, the trend seems to be here in Lakeside that those families stay in those same homes. They don't turn them over for, they need to downsize, so, mom and dad, now that they're empty nesters, are gonna move on to a smaller place. And in our economy too, it's just not feasible anymore to sell your home, because the cost of something else is still just as much. So people are staying. Well, with Prop 13, and then just how our property taxes, you have about a 2% growth in property tax based on your original home price. So if you bought a home, way back when homes were $90,000, $100,000, your property tax base was based on that, and the growth of it is only going to be about 2% a year. The only time that resets is if that home sells, and then sells for $1 million, that resets that property tax base. So our property tax base is being hurt a little bit, a lot, by just that people not moving and expanding, and it's just one of our little anomalies here in Lakeside, and it's what makes Lakeside kind of cool. But then we just don't have this leap of property tax growth that may offset and equalize some of that state funding. So anyways, I just wanted to notate that. And and also within the states, so I talked about the property tax, and what property tax, school districts get about 45% of local property taxes from the county of San Diego. From the state of California, school districts, as per statute, school districts get about 40% of the state's, they're guaranteed 40% of the state's revenues. And so the education community as a whole is actually much better off than some of the other departments and stuff like that the state funds and property taxes fund. And just, sometimes you'll hear me talk about the big three that funds California. We're a little bit unique in that too. Other states have different mechanisms for their funding. Our big three are personal income taxes, which come from your wages, capital gains, and any business income. So that's one. The second one is sales taxes, and the third is corporate tax. Corporate tax has been a big, the personal income tax and corporate tax have been like the major funders for the state. But over COVID, we saw people moving out of the state. So there's a loss of personal income tax. Corporate, the state of California has made some, not desirable for business owners to have their businesses here in the state, and so they've also moved out, so we've seen a decrease. So that's what's contributing to some of the school districts' constraints with their financial situation is as the state's revenues come down, that 40% comes down too. Some major factors I wanted to highlight that are influencing our district's budgeting and the districts across the state of California is the state budget's projecting deficits for this current year and then beyond 2, 3, 4 years out. We have the end of the federal ESSER funding that's ending September 30th of 2024. If you haven't already spent, I think most districts have already depleted those funds. So that was the COVID, some of the big dollars that we saw coming in during the COVID years. There's changes to the state and local enrollment patterns with average daily attendance, and that has some implications for school funding if it fluctuates, quite a bit. Again, that drives school funding, your ADA. And then just increased costs due to inflation. Our pension costs are still rising, our STRS PERS. And then any unfunded or underfunded mandates that school districts are required to do, but just don't get any dollars to help offset those costs of doing those types of programs or mandates that we are told to do. So there's some big disparities between the governor's budget and the Legislative Analyst's Office, or LAO. The projected budget for 2024-25, the governor's budget is much more optimistic than the LAO's office. We'll see when the governor came out in January with his budget proposal. What I'm hearing is that there's going to be some significant changes between now and then they may revise. That the legislative body is now talking with the governor and basically negotiating on what his proposal is and what some of their key programs or things that they want to hold harmless. So there's a lot of negotiating going on right now, and we'll see how all that shakes out at the May revise. The LAO's office, though, is projecting a much larger, and in my belief, it's probably closer to what the real problem is with the state, where that deficit lands, is closer to the $73 billion mark. And those budget deficits are continuing for the next few years. It's a big hole to fill, and you can't fix it in 1 year, especially when your state revenues are going down, not going up. The governor's budget, he's trying to avoid cuts by borrowing against future general fund revenues. It's an interesting mechanism that the Department of Finance has came up with. We'll see how that plays out. But the LAO has made this statement here that the proposed maneuver is bad fiscal policy and it sets a problematic precedent for the state, creates a binding obligation that will worsen out-year deficits and require more difficult decisions in the future. So, I mean, these are just I've never seen the LAO and the Department of Finance so far apart in their projections. This is kind of unprecedented in this gap. Usually they're a little bit closer. They're never like dead on, but they're a little bit closer. But this is pretty far apart. And then our other issue is, it's not a Lakeside issue, it's a statewide issue of declining enrollment. People left during the pandemic, and then the birth rates also are dramatically lower than they have been in the past. And so, you know, that can have some implications to school districts too. Watching your enrollment, and if it's declining, that you just need to make sure that you're staffing according to your enrollment and watch your program costs and stay in very close touch with what's happening at your local level and within your district. So this is some of the same information. Nothing's changed since first interim on the LCFF, what the grade span adjustments are. This year we had an 8.22% COLA, so you can see that how the funding works and what the per ADA is that we get for our students. Excuse me. And this hasn't changed either. Same information. The assumptions for second interim on lottery funding, mandate block grants, all that good stuff. I have the same slide in first interim, just some of our risks and our cost pressures to the district. And our second interim, this hasn't changed, it's not going to change. The COLA for this year, the assumption of the 2% property tax increase, our step and column increases, STRS and PERS. STRS is gonna stay flat over the next few years unless the legislature goes in through statute and changes that. PERS adjusts every year. It continues to go up, and I think the projection is now in 3 to 4 more years, it'll be over 30%. So 30 cents on every dollar is what's gonna go towards employees' retirement, but that's what the district pays, so that's just another cost pressure. Our students, our unduplicated people percentage that we have, and our staffing. And just the general fund revenue, again, not a whole lot has changed. We made some adjustments on our current year budget. The pie chart that I always like to show board members. General fund expenditures, multi-year, this is where it will change. If you look at the last one, what under the projected for 24-25 at first interim, the COLA was projected at 24-25 at over 3%, and now it's been adjusted back down as per the January budget proposal of 0.76. So there's a dramatic, you can see the reduction from second interim anticipated revenues to projected of 68 million. That's due to that COLA drop. And our other funds are looking fine. Our child development, food service, ASB fund. Just like to show these for the board to show what the funds that we have within the district and where their balances are at, how they're spending. Our building fund, which is the bond fund, that will be depleted. We're just projecting a little bit, but as we adjust and shore up everything by year end, it'll be completely spent. Our charter schools, we oversee the 2 charter schools, so this is where Verona and River Valley are at. We are watching River Valley a little bit closely because they've had a decline in enrollment, and just the way that an independent study charter school is funded, they don't get a lot of hold harmless opportunities within that, and so they have to really be careful, and so we're watching, we're working closely with them and watching their financials and making sure that they don't get themselves into any kind of issues. So any questions or comments?
Thank you. Does anybody have any questions or comments for Lisa? I know if Andrew was here, he'd have a very sad face. I definitely noticed those numbers as I was going and the decrease. They just kept getting worse and worse. And it's not a fun presentation to look through.
No,
But
no, it's
I
not.
appreciate it because I know there's a lot of work that goes into all of this, so I appreciate the time that you take on it.
Absolutely. Okay, thank you.
All right, at this time, we will take motions regarding the adoption of the second interim financial report with actuals as of January 31st, 2024, of the district's statement of positive certification indicating the district's ability to meet its financial obligations for the 2023-2024 fiscal and 2 subsequent fiscal years. There is a revised copy of this in the back of your,
That's the one thing.
just the one page. Okay. Page 6 was revised. So we will entertain motions at this time.
I move that we adopt the second interim financial report.
Any second? I'll second. Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
None opposed? Motion passes. All right, we will now move on to trustee reports. Clerk Bennett.
Nothing this evening, thank you.
Okay. Member Wilson.
I just want to, I had a really nice time at Lemon Crest and also Linda Park with reading to the kindergarten class and also the second grade class. And just a couple things that are coming up, awesome family events in our community at Lakeside. And you can find all this on the Chamber of Commerce page, the rodeo, the Western Days, the pageantry for the Bulls Only and the Optimist, and they always make a really great meal, those people. There's spaghetti dinner coming up, there's the big auction, as of yesterday, is like 250 items they already have for auction, and there's some really cool things you'll find there. And I probably missed a few things, but hope to see you there, and it's a great family event. All these activities coming up, and again, you can check the chamber, it's all listed there. Thank you.
This last weekend, I think it was last weekend, we had Touch a Truck, which was a great event. Even with the rain, everyone came out. We had 3,000 tickets sold, and people showed up. Rain was showing up, and there were still people driving, and we had consistent people coming out. It was just a wonderful community event. Again, the bus with the slide was really popular. KUSI was there and actually did their lead-in, sliding down the slide and popping out the back of it. So that was fun to see. Like Ron said, I would encourage everyone to come out this Sunday. It's the Junior Fair Barbecue and Auction, which is their big fundraiser to be able to put on the Junior Fair in May. So that is Sunday from 11 to 5, and they, the FFA has put together a barbecue beef dinner, lunch dinner that they'll be serving, and it's $15 a person. But it's just a great event, and this is the way our kids get to do a show out in our community and compete. So I encourage everybody to come and have some barbecue. 11 to 5 on Sunday. Yep. All right, at this time, we will look for the opportunity for members of the public to address the board on any items on the agenda. Do we have any speakers?
No speakers.
Okay. So we will move on to our items of business and to designate consent agenda items. That's a mouthful. So, is there a motion to designate the items of business to the consent agenda?
I'll make a motion to designate consent agenda.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'd say.
All right, is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor? there anything that anyone would like to pull from the consent agenda? I am gonna pull 4.7. None others? All right, at this time, then we'll entertain motions to approve the consent agenda with the exception of 4.7.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda items with the exception of 4.7.
All right, is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All right, all those in favor? Aye. None opposed. So 4.7 is our gifts to the district. Again, we had a lot of wonderful gifts. Lowe's and Home Depot donated to Dream. We had the El Capitan Stadium Association, as well as the Lakeside Optimist, made two large donations to the LMS band program and PTA's revolving account. So I just want to thank everyone for all the donations that they give. So I will move that we approve 4.7. If we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed. And that moves us on to discussion items. The enrollment report for month 6 is in your file if anyone has any questions on that. Legislative updates, I don't know if anybody has one. I know I'm watching Senator Jones has brought back his SB 31, which is now SB 1011, which is on the homeless encampments. And he's put a big focus on how close they can be to schools as well. So he's kind of hoping to get a little more traction on that this year. So that's one that I am kind of looking at. We will move on to first reading of Administrative Regulation 4161.1, 4261.2, and 4361.2 personal leaves. Anyone have any questions or comments? No? Okay. First reading of Administrative Regulation 4161.8, 4261.8, and 4361.8, family care and medical leave. Any questions or comments? Okay. First reading of Board Policy 5131.9 on academic honesty. Any questions or comments on that? Okay. And first reading of Administrative Regulation and Exhibit 5145.71, Title IX Sexual Harassment Complaint Procedures. Any questions or comments? Okay. Then we will bring all those back next meeting. I believe Carrie was not able to join us tonight, as was David Myers, so that puts us to Lisa Davis for an update on business and operations.
I just have a couple quick ones. I wanted to highlight our child nutrition department, Christy Summers. She's been knee-deep in audits. Not only do they go through the district audit, but they also have for food service multiple audits with federal compliance and food and all that stuff. So she just got her exit interview for their first procurement audit, and there were no fiscal findings, so that was awesome. She is now doing the CDE audit that happens every 5 years. And the new, I don't know if any of you know, the last of the kitchen, the central kitchen remodel is happening as we speak, and they are doing awesome and should be finished on time, maybe even a little bit before. The projected time schedule was that they would be done by the second week of spring break, so that when we open back up after spring break, that every business operations will be running. It looks like that's gonna happen, except the hail today, but they scrambled and covered everything up, and that was open on the roof part of it, and they still kept working on stuff on the inside, so it's a good company that's doing an awesome job for the school district. And then Christie's ordered some new trucks. They just got here into San Diego and are being retrofitted for new boxes and lift gates, and they're about 4 weeks out for delivery to the department. So you'll be seeing some new trucks being driven around by food services, so that's exciting for them. And then Jared gave me, they will be doing 2 field trips over spring break, and he said in case any of the board members want to have lunch and say hello, stop by, and so I can send Lisa the flyer if you haven't already seen it, and we can send it out to the board members if you're interested in stopping by and seeing ESS during spring break. That's it.
All right, thank you. Dr. Natalie Winspear, Educational Services.
So the very last handout in your folder is our most recent update on attendance rates. So as you know, we're tracking closely. I think the last update I brought you was comparing 85 days last year to 85 days this year. This one is, I think, 118 days. So the awesome news is you get what you pay attention to, and you know we've been, every school has a attendance improvement plan, and I just want to highlight, so overall for the district, our chronic absenteeism is down 31%, but if you look at the schools, you can see that Riverview and Winter Gardens have both dropped their chronic absenteeism rates by 48 and 47%. Lakeside Farms, 35%, LMS, 36%, so, and then some schools in the 20%. So when chronic absenteeism drops, that means that positive attendance is going up. So we're super excited to see that our efforts are working. And the other exciting thing about this is that as we get more school days under our belt, we have an opportunity to continue to improve our rates, right? So they can get better, they can also get worse, but we're trending in a really great direction. So we're hoping by the end of the year that our chronic rates have dropped, or at least stayed here, or dropped even more dramatically. So that is the only thing I have to report to you this evening.
That is excellent news. All right, Dr. Rhonda Taylor.
Okay, I would like to share, I have a relationship with the Women's Club, and I know that Trustee Casper also did a little expose on the Women's Club, but we did a little podcast with them. It's very short, but I do want to share this with you. I'm not sure how to get it on the screen. Hi, my name is Dr. Rhonda Taylor, and I'm the superintendent of the Lakeside Union School District, but I'm also a very proud member of the Lakeside Women's Club. With me today, I have Lisa Sharp. She is our president. She leads us in all of the good things that this organization does for the youth of Lakeside as well as other communities. Lisa, would you like to talk about the Women's Club and what their mission is?
Yes, the Women's Club of Lakeside is a service organization. We are the oldest service organization in Lakeside. We were formed in 1910. And throughout the years, we have been involved in all things Lakeside. Our main purpose is to bring women together. We are so involved in the community. We hold our children's art show every year, which we just had this past weekend. We had 1,100 pieces of art submitted by all the different children within Lakeside.
Classes from around our school district took field trips to the art show. On Saturday of the show, the LMS Orchestra and the TDS Beginning Band performed.
Next month, we are having our annual quilt show. It's a huge event where we have over 100 beautiful works of art that are sent in from women all over San Diego County. And every year it's a brand new quilt show.
Some of the funds raised from the quilt show are used to support the great work of organizations like Lakeside River Park, Gently Hugged, the Hobie Youth Leadership Program, Heifer International, Crisis House, the Painted Turtle, and lots more.
We have an annual bunco that we take the proceeds, and the ladies, we vote on what organization we're going to give the money to. Last year, it went to 2 different organizations that help veterans and first responders who have PTSD. We have a sewing group that is part of our women's club. They meet every Tuesday at this Historical Society. The ladies make quilts. The quilts are donated to any organization in town that is having a fundraiser. All they have to do is stop by on a Tuesday and they can pick out a quilt free of charge that they can use for a fundraiser. At the end of the year, we donate the quilts to different nursing homes in the area. This past year, we donated somewhere between 150 and 160 lap quilts. We take part in everything. We'll be in the parade this year for the Western Days Parade. Each year, we have a booth at the Spirit of Christmas where we sell some of our items and stuff, and we just really try to get involved. We're very involved with our local VFW. I mean, the entire community uses this building.
Right.
So we think it's a great thing to do. So whenever we can, we try and help them out because it helps out the community.
Another way we've supported our veterans over the years is by supporting Final Honor. Final Honor provides a beautiful horse-drawn funeral carriage as a tribute and lasting legacy to those who served honorably or sacrificed their lives in service to our nation.
So we had a lot of activity in our scene behind us, so we're finishing up our monthly meeting.
Right.
And it's the last Thursday of every month is when the
fourth.
The fourth Thursday of every month is when the Women's Club meets, and we have a great fellowship. Sometimes we have potluck, sometimes it's dessert, but we just, the most important thing is getting together and seeing one another and, you know, seeing, just having been a member of this club for so long, just having these amazing friendships with these lovely ladies here.
The best thing you can do for your health is to be part of an organization like this. You know, it gives you a reason to get up every morning, and it keeps you busy.
Well, Lisa, thank you for sharing all of this with us. And if you are interested at all in the Women's Club, just reach out and we're happy to hook you up.
Thank you, Lisa, and the Women's Club of Lakeside for all you do to keep our community connected.
And that's that. So it was just a fun one to share. Yes, I am a member. I do wear my little fan when I go because you get charged if you don't wear your fan. There's a bunch of really amazing people. They can be pretty feisty though sometimes too. So Mrs. McKay is going to have a lot of free time. I invite you to join us. But I wanted to showcase the Women's Club. Also, in addition, gives donations. They gave our FFA program a pretty large donation this year too, so they raise money and support our schools too. That's me.
Thank you.
Yeah, I had something about the Women's Club. There are, Mr. Sharp told me, it's really interesting to know that it's the oldest service club. And then she said, oh, by the way, do you know we have 2 men in the, right? So that wasn't mentioned, but.
No, they have.
So it's great.
Rod, can't remember how to say his last name. I had his kids for so long. I was their principal in Poway. I can see it. If I see his name, I can pronounce it, but right now I can't. But the owner of Leah's Lakeside Pharmacy is also a member of the Women's Club. I think he's a member of everything.
Yeah. Raj.
Yeah, Raj. And he'll come to Bunko sometimes, or he'll come to some of the auctions. But yeah, he's involved.
He's great.
He's a great guy. All right.
Thank you.
Is there any other business that needs to come before the board? No? All right, with that, we will adjourn at 7:07.
That's the summer this year. It is. So far. It's not
Sitting right there, that's
Where would it go in that corner? Have a ramp? Yeah, her property.
Laura? Then we started doing math, and he was like,
Sometimes twice a day. But, yeah,
This morning, my kid has tomorrow, he's got the next 2 weeks of his school. Two weeks a day, I'm like, that is not fair. Yeah, I mean, they should have staff development days.
The more we do,
Yeah, too. Daylight savings thing is not saving money. Oh, it already was. Coming back, it wasn't that much. Yeah, I mean, but I'm just tired. Peggy, they want you to join the women's club because you're fun.
Women's club. Everybody's
Come on.
No, women's club big time. Who's the woman that does the audit? Alexa will be on. Yeah, she's like, you gotta join women's club.
Oh, wait, no. Have a good one.
Yeah.
It's back on the last one. Oh, yeah, that's it. Because they have it March 15th. And then we'll have one. Never supervises. Playground board. Guaranteed chance.
See you, Mr. Jim. Take care.
yeah, that's big.
So they signed a contract.
One more long, I always take it to my office and.
Looks like I'm missing. Yeah, and then yours yeah. So, is I think they all get it. It doesn't mean entirely, but they all get it. Like,
Well,
yeah, because they signed a contract.
The city, it's their responsibility. Only because the county has.
I'm guessing.
And the reason why we did it is.
He's on a tour. Yeah.
He decided to focus.
No.
Only this.
Turn this thing off.
All right, see you guys tomorrow.
I know.